Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast.
Let's get it. Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Penny Bloom Podcast. It is I, Colton Robertson. I am joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, what up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it is always a pleasure to have you. Today, we continue a very special project. 3 movies in already on the comic book movie journey through film. This brings us to Superman 2 after last week's covering Superman. Same franchise. I'm glad to be getting our first sequel on the journey here.
Yeah.
You know, it'll be an interesting another little category. What are the best sequels to comic book movies of all time? What another nice little niche to add to our repertoire here, where we rank everything.
As this one goes, it is the best sequel so far, I can say without a doubt.
Confidently the best sequel. There's no doubt about it. This movie premiered on December 4th, 1980. It is written by Mario Puzo once again, with a screenplay by David Newman, Leslie Newman, and Mario Puzo, and directed by Richard Lester. We did not watch the Donner cut, as it has been dubbed. Apparently, a whole other version of this movie, directed by Richard Donner, which is cool. I don't think I've seen that one. At least if I have, I don't recall. I've watched this movie a few times throughout my life. I've always been more impartial to Superman, the first Superman movie. It's been kind of the one I go back to the most. But I have seen this one the second most. Kind of just keeps going less and less. Like when we get to 3 and 4, I'll be like watching them for the first time again, basically.
Oh,
but the Superman 1 and 2, these are the ones I remember very vividly.
Apparently, the Donner cut, it was all filmed all at the same time, but Gene Hackman's scene were filmed for Richard Donner. And every other scene that was required, like a reshoot that was required for the movie that we watched, was a lookalike and a voice actor, an impersonator, was impersonating Gene Hackman in this movie. And I had zero clue.
That's fucking nuts.
I had no clue that it was not Gene Hackman the whole time. I guess it was only for reshot, like anything that was reshot.
Yeah.
Maybe
so there's a good chance it's not
flying. Maybe it was just like him flying. Where it doesn't necessarily show his face super close up. But man, I had no idea. I had no any inclination of that, but while watching. But
That's insane.
I gotta watch the Donner cut now. See what that one's all about. But I don't know.
The Donner cut's the original release, the Snyder cut. Because a little piece of trivia, in a 2004 interview, Margot Kidder, the actress for Lois Lane, claimed that Richard Donner shot enough scenes to make his own cut of the film, and that the unused footage was somewhere in the vault. A website started a petition for Warner Bros. To allow and sponsor Donner's cut of the movie. It was the footage was re-edited into Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut.
Wow.
So very interesting shit there. So a lasting legacy this film has on Warner Brothers and DC as a whole, as we've recently had a very similar thing occur.
Wow,
that's fascinating. All that shit is really, really cool. But yeah, we watched the original release, the one that came out in theaters and stuff, directed by Richard Lester, with the 7 to 8 minute recap at the beginning of the film, just giving us a full reacclimation into the environment of the Donnerverse, if you will. I loved that, I was just like, oh yeah, I just watched this, so I don't really need it, but
yeah. I guess it's nice for because how far apart do these movies come out in real life?
A couple years.
Yeah, 2 years. So I mean, that's a good enough time. People probably
it premiered December 4th, 1980, but it wasn't widely released until like the middle of 1981. Superman 2. Very just another little tidbit about it, but it'd be interesting if it like premiered without the reshoots that they eventually get with Gene Hackman, and then those are like I don't know, I don't know the timeline or anything, but it's an interesting little bit of information. But just like the last couple, we've continued our required comics journey, and this one we had a few more than we have in weeks past. I really went deep for this, and it was a really fulfilling one. I really enjoyed it. But we got Adventure Comics number 283, kind of familiarizing us with what the Phantom Zone is, and obviously these films have a vastly different perspective of what the Phantom Zone is than the comic books, as he is literally turned into a phantom and can still roam the plane as he wishes.
I feel like this would be more, like the comic version of the Phantom Zone would be more of a punishment than just being trapped in whatever they're in. I guess it is just the Phantom Zone is what they're in. But like not being able to interact with a single thing, but still being able to see things unfold would be worse than just like staying in a cell or whatever you call like them in. But
and I really loved this one. This was a cute little comic. This is an old one. Not an Action Comics, not a Superman comic, but like a Superboy comic. We got a few Superboy ones in this week, and the way there's a Clark Kent robot that comes into play and stuff like.
Let me activate the Clark Kent robot real quick to fill in his spot. I'm like, oh, that's a thing. That's cool.
Oh, sure, we can do that. I love the different mechanics of the leftover things from Krypton and stuff, and him discovering the Phantom.
Yeah, the 3 weapons that were left over that were 2. You know, it is interesting that Jor-El deemed these 3 weapons as we cannot have them on Krypton. They're too powerful of weapons.
Let's send it to Earth.
So let's just put them in a box and put them up there.
We could keep it on the planet that's about to be destroyed. Sure. These things all have logic, but we can't have them on the planet. That's too dangerous. So we got to get rid of them.
Or just he didn't destroy the weapons themselves just right then and there. Like if he deemed them too dangerous to be left just in existence, why didn't he just, I don't know, use the Tommy gun mountain destroyer to destroy the other 2 and then destroy the Tom? It's a comic book. I'm not really going to deal.
We're not deep diving or anything, but still, like, Jor-El, come on, man. You seem like a smart guy. You're played by Marlon Brando. I know he knows these weapons will be the death of this business. You know, that's kind of what he's thinking. But not only was this comic significant for its Phantom Zone sort of mechanics, it was our first appearance of General Zod. And General Zod becomes obviously a very important figure in this movie. You know, we got the whole like the squad of General Zod Bizarros, which we haven't gotten to Bizarro comics, but I'm sure you're familiar with the idea of the Bizarro Superman, where he says everything backwards and has the backwards S on his chest and stuff like. So this is another. We haven't gotten to anything, and I don't even think that'll become important in any of the movies or anything, but Bizarro, very important to Superman lore. And so another little tidbit there. They're wanting that General Zod to be the dictator. They're wanting all that shit. So they're setting up the themes for how we come to know General Zod for sure in Adventure Comics number 283.
Yeah, I love the little, I don't know. I whenever I was first reading the first one, and this electric typewriter that at the beginning I'm reading it and I'm like what is the point? Like, why are they focusing on this a little bit? You know, and like why your brainwaves, whatever. And it's like how he kind of. I'm like,
it's how he saves
while
himself.
I'm reading this, I'm like, how the heck is he gonna what is he gonna do? You know,
exactly.
There's no one on Krypton left alive. No one knows he's in there. Like, how the fuck? And then I'm like, okay, that's actually kind of, I don't know, it's kind of.
That was a nice little through line. That was. I really did dig that, and that's something I really love about these like these early Superman comics is that they're I loved looking at the art on these pages. Like it feels so classic, and it's perfect, man.
There was some cool art in the one where he was what was her name? The Katie, or maybe that was who she went by, but the
the character that would go on to inspire Ursa.
Yeah, what was her
470 Action Comics 471 through 473. That was crucial
art in those ones were, I don't know. I noticed the art in those ones a lot. Like there was this page where it's just him flying and it's like behind him. Like there was a lot of cool
that one stood out to me too.
Like a lot of motion in this art for some reason that I noticed. I don't know. I've been enjoying reading these comics so much, and like seeing the old ads too. That like people with like Slim Jims was like an ad in one of them, or like fly like Superman, a paper Superman. Like paper airplane. I don't know. It's just I love like it's such
really gets you all enveloped into it. But but we get introduced in that Action Comics 471 through 473 to a woman from Krypton who is occupying an interesting alternate mechanics of the Phantom Zone again, where they, it's kind of changed again, where she can kind of just phase in and out of it. Fuck it, man. She can do whatever she wants. That's
it's better than just a white and a black button on a machine. I guess
no beef here.
Yeah,
but I did really like it. And that character does go on to inspire Ursa in this movie, in Superman 2. It's also interesting that in 473 he has to face off with 3 Kryptonians, 2 men and a woman. It's definitely laying the groundwork for what we become familiar with in this movie. The whole defacing a statue, they do it to Superman, but in the movie they do it to Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, what they did, thousands of hours to create, and they defaced it in seconds. Imagine what they could do to the world if we let. Yeah, like I don't know this.
Where is Superman?
I love eventually the president, kneels and he's like, "Oh God," and then Zod just goes, Zod, Zod, and like I don't know they kept the quips of Superman very like adaptation wise, like they just start killing it every time. Like
it's so fucking good. It's so fucking good.
Oh, he saves the kid from Niagara Falls, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, only one ride per customer." Like all of his little quips,
and he's not. He's like really sweet too. Like he's just like, "Oh, sorry, one ride per customer." Like
now I got to go get my hot dog.
And I love the way in that part of the movie when Lois is like, Superman, it's me," and he just flies away. He's like, "You know what? Let me humble her right quick. I'll be right back." She knows she got me on the leash. I'm gonna go ahead and leave her on it.
She knows I have super hearing and can literally hear even when I'm miles away. Fuck it, I'm going. Yeah, he's taking. I don't know. He even as Clark, he kind of took some initiative in this movie. He wasn't fully. I don't know. He like. Hey Lois, I was thinking, what the sleeping arrangements? What were we gonna, like he's still stumbling, but like he's still very, very Clark and very
stumbling,
shy and nervous, but like he's still like he's trying to make moves, he's still trying. Yeah, he's but I don't know.
I love this movie, dude, and I do love how we visit like the Eiffel Tower, we visit the Niagara Falls, and that was something that. Visiting these landmarks of the world, I feel like might have been influenced a little bit by Action Comics number 211, where he does visit the Eiffel Tower. He visits all these spots in the world and commits some glorious, spectacular act that's being photographed for the Daily Planet International. None of them are getting run. He's like, what the fuck's going on?
Doing all these cool things, and and he knows they're lying to him because he can see the negatives like through their desk and stuff, and it was cute. Like this one, like there wasn't like an enemy, there wasn't any villain or anything. It was just a cute little story that was like, "Hey, we appreciate you, Superman. Here's what we're gonna do for you on your anniversary." And I don't know. It was,
I loved it, dude. I love that. I love that it all just kind of resolved itself. They're like, "Yeah, here you go. We love you, man. That was just sweet, you know. I loved that. I loved the shit where he was like, "I'm not vain, but what the fuck's going on here?"
Like, am I not good enough for you guys? I
Yeah,
literally
like,
just
am
I
I
went
getting
out in
am I
space and
getting boring?
but nah, it was just a cute little surprise gift for him,
For sure.
which was nice. And then yeah, seeing the like movie open up on the Eiffel Tower, it is just really cool to see uh crossovers. Like even if it is that simple. Like he didn't lift the entire Eiffel Tower here and flip it over and hold it up by the single point, but like we were there and it happened like in these comics and like even there's a boy that's walking through and he has like an Action Comics like in his hand, like in the
Right.
movie. You know, again, it wasn't like the opening scene where it is literally like reading through and like putting you into the book sort of thing, but it's like
Right.
they still pay homage or they still it's very important
For
to
sure.
them for this movie.
Yeah, I really really did enjoy like I will say I think I like the first couple acts of this movie a little bit more than I do the ending. I think the ending's like it could be a little bit stronger than it is for me. I'm not a huge fan of the fact that they end up erasing Lois's memory, sort of thing. I wish that feels like it was something they could have overcame for my money. They go through a lot in this movie. It's really compelling. You know, I love the way this movie starts out. The opening in Paris, where, or I guess first Clark Kent being told that there's a terrorist attack in Paris, and him heading on over there.
Want my best reporter there, and then he's like, well, isn't that a little dangerous? Like, don't you not want your best reporter in the place that could blow up and everyone
Yeah.
die in? You know, it
Comes with the
but
territory, Kent.
yeah, it's part of the job. You signed
I
up
don't
for
just stand around. And he
terrorist
turns
attacks.
around and he's already gone. I was like, fuck it. I love Perry White too. Hell of a character Perry White is, the journalist, the editor of the Daily Planet.
The cigar he always has in his mouth. Yeah, he's very
He's like
character-rich.
he's the good J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
He's the good foil to J. Jonah Jameson. But you know, whenever like Lois tricking the cop into letting her pass and stuff, and her ending up getting caught on underneath the elevator that is holding the hydrogen bomb. It's like, oh my god. And did you recognize one of those criminals from any
Harry Potter.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
what I
yeah,
know.
yeah.
I forgot what his name is, but the guy who turns into a rat.
Exactly. Yeah,
Basically.
yeah, yeah. It's like I love a little crossover. Something I can point to more modernly with these movies is always fun. But yeah, and that was another really cool thing was Superman coming in saving the day. The way he says hi to Lois, like I think this is your floor. Another one of those nice little Superman quips, and then throwing it into space, and the nuclear explosion being what breaks the Phantom Zone and allows them out.
Whoopsies.
Who could have known?
and did like whenever they sent those three into the Phantom Zone, did they send them like to Earth, or did they just so happen?
They were just flying through space, and they just happened to reach there. Maybe the explosion so soon after propelled them in the same direction, sort of thing. Obviously took them much longer to get there. Yeah, I thought that shit was...
Yeah, it's just saving the day, but oopsies, letting out three of my villains. You know, I mean, they needed to get out somehow, and like he's not. I don't know. So I was like okay with it. But
absolutely. And I love that like later whenever they're in the Fortress of Solitude and Lex Luthor is asking a bunch of questions and she's like, for the love of God, don't let a nuclear bomb go off next to the Phantom Zone. It will open.
Yeah, got it. I mean, Krypton, were they big into nuclear bombs, you know? I feel like it's
that was another thing I was thinking about. Like, were they a part of the arms race? Like, what the fuck's going on here?
But nah, that's why these movies are just fun. Is that you can look at something like that, and I guess like in a more modern movie, we would. I feel like people just get pissed off about that, and they'd say like, "Oh, this is a shitty movie." But like,
100%.
while we're watching this, like, I don't know, while I'm watching this, I'm in the same mindset that I am while I'm reading the comics. Is like, this is just cool story, and things need to happen in order for this story to happen. You know, like that. It's just the writer does whatever the fuck they want. Like,
it's like, here's the thing: the people who are always so complaining about comic book movies having an excessive amount of comedy. Kind of what they've always been. You know, Superman took itself seriously. It had some funny moments, but this is straight up, they were going for comedy at a lot of points in this movie. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like they wanted it to be funny. Planet Houston.
Yeah. And then Otto, Luther's like right-hand man, is solely for comedy. He's a comedic character.
Him pulling down the hot air balloon and shit.
Mr. Luthor. I love how he says Luthor. Man.
The black box in our cell.
And I love how Lex always refers to himself in like second person or third person. And he's like, how are they going to reward the greatest criminal mind of, he said the same, like every single time.
How do they reward the greatest genius on the planet? 25 to life. Or life plus 25, Luther. Get back to work. Nah, man, I love this shit. And like the scene that I always remember from this, or not the scene, but the section of this movie I always remember is the Niagara Falls stuff. That's the stuff that stuck with me most throughout the years I've watched this movie. Just because it is far and away my favorite part of the movie. It's the most development we get in the Lois and Clark storyline. And the whole, she thinks she's figured it out. So she's going to jump in the river.
On it.
Yeah. He's, Lois, try to swim, Lois. And,
I mean, I love that. Like, I don't know. I feel like Lois kind of says it perfectly. It's like, I don't think you wanted to with your mind, but you've always wanted to with your heart. Like that. That
100%.
Like,
Well, because there's a couple times throughout the movie where he makes it like he's not careful. When he walks across the street and gets hit by a car and puts a dent in the car, whenever he's pressing her orange juice and the juicer crushes his thumb and he like, it's the thumb closest to Lois. Like, he's not being careful, you know, he's trying his best to tell her without telling her, you know, which I really love.
Oh yeah. No, that's, I don't know. Them two, they're always so cute. And of course they had to, you know, go on a fake honeymoon together in the most corny honeymoon room.
The fucking,
like, oh man.
The fucking bellhop being like, throwing the bags down and, just marching around the room, the flames of love, you know? And now give me my tip. I'd be like, dude, you threw my bags. What if there was something important in there? I'll give you like $2, but shit.
Clark's too nice, man.
Clark's too nice. I'm all for tipping because I live off tips, but I'm also like pretty good at my job, you know. Like I don't just like phone it in and hope people like just tipping me. Like I don't know, effort's nice. But yeah, the vibrating bed and all that shit, so fucking funny. I do love that. Like, have you ever been to Niagara Falls?
No, I'm not.
It's fucking gorgeous. And I actually didn't watch this movie for the first time until after I went on my way to Cooperstown for my brother's baseball back in like 2016, and I didn't watch this movie until after that. And when I saw it, I was like, holy shit, yeah, it's exactly what it looks like still. Essentially the same fucking place. Like the setup around it and everything. Obviously, the falls haven't changed much. They've remained relatively the same.
I love how she's taking pictures. Like she's not facing not the actual falls whatsoever. She's taking pictures of the people.
I don't know how you can do that, Lois. You're by one of the nature's greatest spectacles, and you're thinking about food.
Oh, whenever you've been touched by Superman, you can't really think of much else, you know. Or whatever.
Everything else just kind of comes up short.
Oh, like, him again?
Yeah. Oh, I could just tell you. But yeah, I loved that whole thing, and I wish Clark was. Clark's not here. He never fucking is. Like,
It's
I
like the
always
classic
love that
joke.
she figures it out. You know, like
Yeah.
he does a really good job at trying to convince her otherwise, but she figures that shit out.
Yeah. No, she's smart. She's a journalist. She's not any detail can get past her, you know. She says that. But it's like the classic joke of like, "Oh, you ever seen me and Batman in the same room together?"
Exactly.
No, you haven't. All right.
I'm Batman.
But
Yeah,
in
no,
this
I love
case,
the like the part where Clark's glasses get all fogged up and he like tries to clean them while they're still on his face.
yeah.
And she's like, "No, give me those." And he's like, tries to look away and stuff. That shit was so funny. I loved that. But you know, Lois kind of figuring things out about Superman's real identity, kind of inspired by Action Comics 484, which is Superman Takes a Wife.
This one was fun.
This was a really, really good book, and it's all about Lois and Clark figuring their shit out. And the whole like Superman's disappeared, he's gone, but Clark's still there, so it's like you're really, really getting a heavy influence on this movie.
And one thing that I guess I don't know if I missed it or maybe it's just them being like, yeah, he got his powers back. But whenever he was talking to his mom and being like, yeah, I love her. And then she's like, you have to live as them if you want to, you know, live as immortal with them.
Yeah,
when
right.
you do this, it cannot be undone, you know, is what she says. And then
it's just
like
undone.
He picks up like the crystal that like Jor-El sent him with, and like we're all like, you know, like
it created the Fortress of Solitude and stuff.
So like, I mean, I'm cool with it, but like, I didn't know if I just missed something as like.
You didn't. I don't think they tried to explain shit at all about how he got his powers back. I think they were just kind of like, well, maybe if we say like we show him picking up this crystal, it'll just kind of be like, oh yeah, fuck it, you figured it out.
Because I really thought
I can't even begin to think of what they were like thinking the explanation would be relating to the crystal. Like the Fortress of Solitude's already there. Like the best I can come up with is like him plugging it back in. The Fortress of Solitude comes back to life, and that's just it. You know, like
yeah.
I did love the imagery of the Fortress of Solitude when it was all dark and like the blue and green lighting was the only shit lighting up around it.
Well, like he goes back in and
yeah,
like I failed and oh yeah, that was a really cool. But I don't know. I love the like him actually going through with it, being like, yeah, I don't need to be Superman like anymore, and like Lois standing right there, hearing it all, and like he probably knows that she's standing there because you know, super hearing and everything,
and he brought her and stuff. Like,
it's like you know she's hearing this, but
well, I also love that she doesn't like say anything. She just kind of like, oh yeah, let's see.
She could have been like, hey, like you don't need to give up your powers, you know, like you can still fight.
She's like, actually, that's some like super contrived logic. You like, we've been very, very cool together this whole time. We could very much so just go ahead and keep doing that. I loved the logic. Like that's the only thing that the holes start poking is the logic of this movie is it's a little out there. Because why on earth does he need to be immortal in order to be with Lois Lane? It doesn't make any sense to me.
I guess maybe that's why maybe the Donner cut has a lot more. They actually like dive into that maybe, and like they just had to use what they had to.
Well, like the runtime of the Donner cut is like 10 minutes shorter. So it's like, what the fuck?
I wonder how different that movie is.
It can't be that much different because the description was the same. Like he loses his powers in order to be with Lois and stuff. And but that really is the heart of this movie. You know, I love that. I love that Clark's willing to do that. I love that Lois is like when they're walking out of the cave and stuff, and they're like hand in hand, arm in arm, and they're like, "I love you. I love you too." Like it's just This is exactly what you've been wanting, you know. This is what you've been needing.
I got my line. Just tell me you love me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes, that was brilliant.
by both of them. They both say it to each other.
Yeah, brilliant.
I can't. Is there another? No, I don't think there's
I
another
think
line.
my favorite line. It's like 3 lines, but like whenever Superman goes, "We'd better talk," and Lois goes, "I'm in love with you," and then he goes, "Then we'd really better talk." like I've got like we really got to talk about this then.
That was funny. We better talk. Yeah, I love you. I got
Okay, so we really
all
need
right.
to talk. No, I loved that shit. But that's part of why it sucks so bad whenever it's kind of undone at the end of the movie. Like,
Yeah.
I think I get it. You know, she became at risk because of their connection and stuff. So it's better for her not to know. But
I don't know. I feel like they didn't even give it a chance, really.
exactly,
You
they were
know,
both just like, yeah, that's it.
like I feel like I don't know. Is it for the third movie? Maybe like because
The third movie has a whole new storyline here. Yeah. There's another love interest potentially introduced and stuff. Another one historically based in Superman comics. Lana Lang back from Smallville. So there's a little bit more there, but yeah, it did kind of go like, fuck, I don't like that. All being undone by the super kiss, which has its basis in comics as well. From
yeah.
Action Comics number 306. That was the only reason I included that issue.
I was wondering. Okay, I was reading that one. I'm like, I was trying to find what was in the movie, and the kiss was the only thing that resembled anything.
Exactly, that was the only reason.
Because I read all of these comics before the movie this time. I had all of them in before the movie.
Gotcha.
And it was before I started the movie, and I'm reading them. I'm like, okay, I wonder what parts of these are going to be in the movie. Like I wonder what, like, why he picked this one or what the inspiration was. And originally, whenever he lost his powers and then he came back as Superman, I thought that was like going to be robot Superman or like an impersonation or something of the sort, like something like that. And then I'm like, oh no, he just got his powers back.
Gotcha.
But it is fun, like, cause the last movie I kind of read half before and then half after.
Gotcha.
This time I had them all in before, and I don't know, it's just, it enhances the movie just a whole lot, like seeing where the inspiration comes from.
That's that was the only reason I included this, is because I think it's key to know that moment does have basis in comics. You know, like it's not just like they were like, fuck it, he's gonna give her a super kiss and she'll be left woozy and dazed and stuff. No, like that did happen in the comic books. It did. It's not like it's they were looking for an easy way out. They just happened to find something with comic base, which is super fucking funny. You know, her being like, oh, whoa, I can't remember shit. Like, Clark, what are you doing here? Get the fuck out. He's like, oh yeah, sure, Lois. Oh, I'll get on.
And freshly squeezed. Yeah, I know.
Juice. I know. Hamburger with everything on it.
It was a nice little story tie-in going back to the same diner and teaching a guy
where he got his shit rocked. He got his ass beat.
Dude's not coming back to that diner, I don't think.
No.
He was embarrassed to the point. And I love
this
how
orders to go.
He just goes, yeah, I've been working out. But like,
that was superhuman strength you just exhibited.
Anyone in that diner, yeah, like, I don't know. Hey, you kind of look like Superman with glasses on, and exhibited some superhuman. I love how everyone is so blind that Clark, you know, like the glasses. Christopher Reeve does do a good job of actually looking morphing and feeling different. But just like,
but not so different that you're like, that's a different person, you know, like he still looks like the same guy.
Yeah, like Batman, it's like you have a mask that covers your face, and like like they even in the Dark Knight cover Harvey's face and look at like his lower and like,
Yeah,
oh, could
right.
you be the kid? But like it's more obvious, more of a secret identity. But like I love that Superman is just, I put on some glasses and I'm working in the
Well,
newspaper office that literally covers Superman. There's pictures of him constantly
yeah,
right there. And
I love it though, because like it really does. That's one of my favorite like contrasts between Batman and Superman, is that Superman wants to show the people that he is one of them. He wants to feel like he's connecting with them, and he wants you to look into his eyes. He wants you to talk to him. He wants you to treat him like a human. Like and Batman wants to be your fucking nightmare.
and that was like part of the movie where I think it was in the honeymoon suite whenever Lewis is saying something like about Clark for Superman, and like but you're the same person, and then he goes like, no, like I see myself as kind of like they're separate people. Like Clark is not Superman, and he kind of like does see a difference between the both of them.
I always thought that was interesting. I think that part's interesting too, because I just tend to have a little bit different of a perspective on Superman as a whole when it comes to that. Like I've always thought of him as kind of like they are the same guy. Clark at his core is Superman. Like it's not like, and obviously he steps away and like he's trying to be a little bit more cowardly and stuff when he's Clark, but when he loses his powers and he stands up to the dude at the counter, that's an example of him having virtue and having strength to him, and he wants to protect, so like at his core, I do think that even he, maybe that's part of the journey of this movie, is that he realizes there's a little bit of Superman and Clark as well.
Yeah, I wonder like I have no idea where these movies are going, but like as far as like the new movies go, like with Superman, like obviously like the fights and all that stuff is like better, but like I love the corniness of the fights that were like that were in here. Like whenever Zod comes to that small town and everyone's just trying everything they can to do like kill him, nothing's affecting anything.
The helicopters are riding in and everything. They're like, we can't fucking get this guy.
Yeah, blow him a kiss, and then
and the giant last action sequence is them just blowing down the street, causing a natural fucking disaster.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and how Zod gets Superman's attention is he just starts blasting cars. He just starts like, and like, super. I love the difference, like just the story element of like you have someone who has these powers and decides to use them for the good of humanity, and then you have people who are like, oh, I can completely take over this entire world if I wanted to, and that's what I'm gonna do. Like a Homelander, type situation versus Superman, where he's obviously not gonna do that. And it's like even Zod says, like, "Oh, I found his weakness. He actually cares for the people on this planet." But I don't know. I don't know. These, like, how can you really complain about a movie being like goofy and funny and like campy? Whenever they first land on the planet and that little fisherman guy sees Zod walk on water, and he's looking at his like drink, and he's like, "Holy shit!" Like I don't know. That's just I love like I like whenever superhero movies take themselves seriously. Like I'm not gonna say that The Dark Knight or the new Batman or all these new movies are
they
bad,
could benefit from telling some more jokes. No, I get like that's the thing, is that you just got to know what you're getting into. Like I think at this point, whenever people are critiquing the MCU, like they're telling too many jokes, I can't help but go, I don't know, man. What were you expecting? What led you to believe that they would do anything different? Because they never have. Like, yes, it would be nice if at some point they went a little bit more self-serious, and I think they have a little bit more recently. Like the idea that comedy immediately discredits a movie
Yeah.
is absurd. Like that's just not how things are. You know, like I can't stand the idea that a comedy can't be a great movie.
Yeah. I think the main complaint for the MCU that people are trying to get at is that it is just following the same formula over and over.
Yeah,
And
that's fair.
I don't think it's the comedy that really gets people. I think it's like it is the same form of comedy over
Right.
and over and over. Like it's big moment where something's about to happen and it's like super serious, and then you have like a little one liner that's like takes you out of it a little bit. It's like it doesn't take you necessarily take you out, but I
No,
don't
I
know.
get you.
This is way more fun. Like to watch, like I'm watching a movie, and I like it's a superhero who can fly and shoot lasers out of his eyes, can have frost breath, can do. He's a god, and like why am I one to be like, oh, these little quirky lines he's having? Oh, I'm so taken out of the movie, and I can't believe that this isn't more realistic.
Exactly. Like I just know people would be up in arms if like fucking Thor and Jane Foster went to a hotel, Thor sat on the bed and it started shaking. They'd be like, God, I miss when Thor was a serious character. Fuck you.
Yeah, no.
It's just fun, man. Like there are like that's why it's so special whenever there is like a critical masterpiece of a superhero movie. Like it's like, oh shit. Yes, this is like Into the Spider-Verse. That's one of the greatest superhero movies of all time, if not the greatest superhero movie of all time. That shit's got funny parts, dude. That shit's funny at some points. Hey,
And it
you know,
makes
like
you cry many times. Like
yes,
it is like a movie that it does everything you want a comic book movie to do.
exactly.
Like,
And I think Superman 2 is like it's on that path. It doesn't get there, but I think it lays like more so than Superman lays the groundwork for what the modern superhero movie has kind of become. I think it does take itself a little it takes itself a little less seriously than the first one did. I think it incorporates a little bit more comedy, and it's funny at points. You know, like it truly does land every once in a while, and it's still resonant. I just think that they kind of fumble the bag at the very end. It's kind of
yeah.
like they wanted to continue the franchise in another way, so like I think they just kind of left it open so they could keep doing this thing.
And I guess that is kind of how most of the comics end, is like you had all this whole story that just happened, but at the end of it, none of it really matters afterwards. Like he went through this experience and he'll learn from it, but like as far as the next story goes, that thing that happened just now is kind of like, well, it's just like, over and done.
Hopefully we don't whip out the Phantom Zone projector again. You know, shit like that. But yeah, man, I do really, really enjoy this movie. Let's see. I'm thinking on my favorites right now.
Yeah, I put as far as my line was, just tell me that you love me. I don't know if it's exactly that, or is it just tell me that you love me, or
tell me that you love me. Yeah.
Yeah. And then my favorite scene is the Niagara Falls scene, whenever Lois figures it out and drops herself in.
Yeah.
And that I don't know if you were right, as in like, or not right, but whenever you said that whenever you look back on this movie and that's what you remember, as far as
what you remember.
Yeah, like that, like obviously I'll remember the fight at the end and like the whole Armageddon-esque, scene. But
kneel before Zod. He kneels.
No.
Well, you can't be president. Anybody who calls himself a leader of men wouldn't do it that fast, you pussy. Get up.
That was funny. Yeah.
That was funny.
And then you got Luther walking in, white flag, like waving in the White House. You just strolled up in the White House.
Right,
and,
yeah.
Like
plops down in the chair behind the desk in the Oval Office.
Puts his feet up.
Yep. Utterly fantastic. And I loved the way he was used as a proxy for the big three here. Sort of being like, oh yeah, you'll need my help. Of course you'll need my help. I'll do my best. I'll do my best anywhere I can.
Yeah, the world's a big place. Thankfully, my needs are small.
Yeah.
I'll just need Australia.
Yeah.
Um, I like beachfront property. Yeah, I don't know. Just what I don't know. He's a very funny part of the movie. Like
Lex
he's
Luthor,
always funny. Yeah, I
leader of
love
Australia. Fucking hilarious.
Houston.
Zod is hilarious in this movie too. And that's one of the things that I know
Yeah,
people would be pressed about now is the fact that Zod is unintentionally funny as fuck at a lot of points in this movie.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's not him trying to be funny. It's just that he's so out of tune with Earth.
with the way Earth is, yeah.
Yeah, that it's just he's being funny, and no, it was hilarious.
Oh,
Like yeah, every time he said Houston, or like whenever they were on the moon, and like grabbed the patch for the first time, they all come from Houston or whatever, and they're like, oh
yeah.
well, now we must go there and lead, finally
Yes.
lead.
We will rule the planet
Yeah.
Houston. But oh, and don't get me started on how the fucking incels on the internet would despise Ursa. Oh, they would hate Ursa, bro. She's there to just
The arm
men.
wrestling, yeah,
Yeah.
arm wrestle, bam. It wasn't. Oh
That's a
yeah,
great scene.
that was one part in the what's the number?
Could be anyone 471, 2, or 3.
Yeah, that one like I think it might be Superman that says it like a man hater like or something like
Yes,
oh
yes.
like or something along those lines and like of course she is or something like that and I'm like oh well yeah this came out in 1938 or whatever or 19 whatever
Yeah,
um
this was I think
but
this was 60s or 7. Oh, I think it was 70s. This was the most recent like Phantom Zone arc when Mario Puzo wrote the movies, and he sat down to write Superman 1 and 2 at the same time.
mm,
So like he wrote both these movies at the same time, which is interesting story wise because I feel like story wise I think Superman 1 is just generally better. I think it's safe to say.
yeah I guess I was trying to think of why Superman 1 story is better like it's more just grounded, I guess. You don't have these people coming in from the Phantom Zone and just wrecking shit. It's just like a guy that wants to take over California. Wipe. I mean, it
Yeah.
is out there.
It's
That's for
out
sure.
there. It's out there. But like I think there's also the fact that like I think the first movie is just better in a lot of respects. It's funny that like it came out 2.5 years before because I think the effects in the first one are a little bit better. I think they've
It.
I think
I was like the fly. Everything did look better in the first one, but I think it's because there wasn't as many effects that they had to do. Like they had to have three people
yeah.
flying around all the time and Superman against them and having them throw a bus, having them like do
I mean
like
like the shit where he stepped into the red kryptonite projector and it like broke him down atom from atom and they showed his face.
the
Yeah, like the just picture of Christopher Reeve getting dismantled. So funny. Like I have no beef. It was just so funny because like literally I could make that in slideshow right now.
Mhm.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like
Oh
that's
yeah. That probably took him weeks to do too. Like is the thing. Like that's it's just
it's evolved
crazy how
so
far we've
much.
come. Yeah. Maybe that's my favorite shot of the movie actually now that I
Yeah.
think about it. I don't know of another well, I don't know. Maybe I should think about it a little.
Yeah, I'll need to take like a little look-see through the
Ooh,
movie real quick to remember a
I
favorite
think
shot.
I think you already said it. The Fortress of Solitude whenever it's dark and it has
Ooh,
the
yeah.
colorful lighting, I think.
That
Um
is pretty.
That's what I'm gonna go with for my shot. Not him breaking down and losing his powers.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I can't blame you there. Um, let's see. I do really, I really enjoy a lot of the Eiffel Tower stuff at the beginning. I think that was when the effects in this movie were at its best.
Mm.
Um, that shit looked really, really good. And I'm not gonna lie to you. I think I'm actually gonna choose. I'm not one for a lot of patriotism. I don't love I don't love America like Superman does in these movies or anything. But I think my favorite shot might be after he's put the top on the top of the White House, and he's like looking through the roof, and he's talking to the president. It's this shot right here. You'll be able to see it, but nobody else will.
Oh yeah.
Love that
It
shot.
was, as far, and definitely for the time, people were way more patriotic than now.
Yeah.
People love to see the powerful God guy in front of the American flag.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love him going back into the alley and taking the suit off and then morphing into his Superman suit. Still no clarification on how that happens. He even took off the chest piece and it was underneath, but I guess he's just moving so fast he undresses and
what's in the Fortress of Solitude, whenever he like throws his logo and it like becomes
they did a lot of stuff with the powers and abilities and certain things in this movie that I don't know if they have comic basis. The fact that Zod can move shit with his mind sometimes, and like the way Superman like pushes it back at them, and then he can like Doctor Strange duplicate himself. I don't know. I don't think Superman's ever been able to do that. At least not stuff I've read. But
that whole sequence was like, oh, he can do that. Oh, yeah, they can just go invisible.
He's just showing off. Yeah, they can teleport. Okay, yeah, shit like that was just like, oh yeah, all right. I think they took a lot of liberties during that scene just to show that they're all so overwhelmingly powerful and they all have the same abilities.
Yeah, like, for one, they've been trapped in the Phantom Zone for however long, and they just got out and just learned that they have powers, and they're using them like it's, they're using them like they, like, I don't know. I love that.
He had a tough time figuring out the laser eyes. He worked on it,
Just getting the little burnt, like, crisp on the truck, like the little wooden board, and he like got a little burn. He's like, yeah, all right, cool.
Yeah. All right, yeah, I got it. Doesn't say a fucking word the whole movie. Very,
He's
very
just
funny.
The muscle. And then, whenever Luther, there's 3 of you guys and only 1 of him. It's easy. And then he kind of growls. He's like, well, 4 if you count that guy twice. Or would it like just to be like, okay, oh shit, I didn't want to make you mad. The cops that they were blocking the road, and the 2 cops that pull up to him first before they go into the town.
Oh yeah, and he's like, oh, did he just give me an order? Get out and shoot this guy.
Yeah, you deal with it. You go ahead. You
did
deal
this
with
guy
it.
just tell me what to do? I'm gonna hand you a shotgun. Go deal with it.
I was like,
okay,
yeah,
all right.
Yeah, that was.
If you're gonna be a peacemaker, I was like, ooh, that hasn't aged well, has it? No. And I love the way Zod just took the shotgun and went ahead and shot himself in the chest with it and was like, interesting. It's a noisemaker.
Yeah. Just I don't know. That was
a crude noisemaker.
I don't like I like the red spinny globe, but I don't like the loud annoying noise that's coming from that thing in the middle or whatever. And then what's the big dude's, the muscle guy's name?
Non, I think. N-O-N.
Yeah, no, he just rips it off and then like kind of cradles it like a baby. Like he kind of like pets it a little bit, which I don't know. Like that stuff, like that would never be in a movie that takes itself seriously, No. But, it's
part of what makes this movie so fucking fun.
I'm trying to think of my favorite performance and character, and I'm
gonna throw my favorite scene right quick.
Okay.
I think my favorite scene is Lois or Clark finally confessing he's Superman. Whenever he trips and falls into the fire, and she's like, it's like after she's already given up, she's like, God, not only am I losing my mind, I've lost my fucking comb. Or like her self-worth is in the pits, she's not doing well. And then Clark trips and falls in the fire. He walks away, he takes the glasses off, and he straightens up.
Yeah.
Turns around and she's like, I'm sorry. I loved that too. The way that she was just like, I know you really didn't want to tell me that. Like, I'm glad you did though.
Mm.
And he's like, yeah, I think I did. I don't know why I did that.
No, he just wanted to rip the Band-Aid off in his heart.
Yeah.
He wanted to, and I mean that was a good, like, whenever you mentioned that, like the car, like the car crashing into him, the thumb, like he was trying to the whole movie. I
Yeah.
really just thought of that as just him. I didn't really think of anything of it. I thought it was just kind of like a funny, like, yeah, he's Superman. Look what can happen to him in normal everyday life. But it was him trying to, like, get her to know.
To, like, get her to figure it out. Like,
Yeah.
Like, I don't have the strength to tell you yet, but this is what's going on. Yeah, that shit was good. But yeah, the favorite character and performance is going to be tough. I did go with Christopher Reeve. We both went with Christopher Reeve as Superman in the first one, right?
Yes.
For
And then,
performance.
yeah, for performance. And then you went with Margot Kidder as Lois Lane, and I went with Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor for my character.
Gotcha.
Definitely will not be going with Lex for the character in this one.
No, yeah, he's a little bit more absent in this one, not as prominent. It's funny. I like Zod. I like the way he's portrayed, but my favorite of those three is Ursa.
Yeah.
I think she got the most to chew on, like, as an actress. I think she got the funnest scenes. I think Zod was, Zod and, like, all that shit in the White House and stuff is fun and cool. But I liked the way Lois Lane knocks her out at the end whenever she loses her powers and stuff. And I loved all that shit. But her throwing the dude through the table during arm wrestling, that shit was funny. Yeah, so, like, I was thinking maybe I would want to go with her for my character, because I think I don't think I want to go with Superman or Lois in this movie.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. Is it just too? It is kind of easy to just go with the main character, but, like,
if it's the case, it's the case. I'm never going to be like, there are certain movies that I have zero doubt in my mind when we get there. I know who my favorite character from those movies are. Like when we get to the Batman, spoiler, my favorite character is the Batman. And my favorite performance, probably the Batman. That's the thing, is that there are some that are just so undeniable. So, like, if that's how you're feeling about it, I have no beef. If the main character is what you think is your favorite, then go for it.
Oh, yeah. I think performance wise, I'm really trying to, like, character. That's just kind of like, that was just kind of up for,
yeah, whatever you're
like,
liking.
it's like,
yeah.
whatever. Performance is kind of the one where I feel is more critical, while character is more of, like, enjoyment.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't, like, I went with Christopher Reeve last time, but I honestly don't think. I think he did better in the first one than this one.
I think he did too. I think he had a lot more. Again, I think he had a lot more emotions to filter through. I think that he was really black and white in this one as far as his Clark Kent persona, his Superman persona, and he did a good job at that last one. But he didn't struggle with his identity like he did in the first one. Like in the first one, he seems a little bit more like, oh, I really want to tell her. There's a lot more that I can feel like I can get from him. The scene where he's fully Clark Kent, though, his vulnerability in those moments, he portrays that really well. I think he does good there. Margot Kidder is always good as Lois Lane.
I think that's just gonna be my performance. I can't think of anyone else. Like, performance wise, it's either Christopher Reeve or Margot Kidder for the performance for me.
I think I'm gonna go with Margot Kidder as well. Like the more I reflect on this movie, this is the one where she got to shine a little bit more than she did in the first one. I think.
Yeah.
Felt like it was centered on her a little bit more. They be putting her through it on set, huh?
Man, I mean, they really had someone. I don't know if it was her, like Margot Kidder in the river,
Yeah.
like they really have her going through that, getting buried alive in a car in the first one,
Yeah,
going
man.
and plummeting towards Earth faster than you would fall. Like
Right.
on the Eiffel Tower. Man, yeah, she
She be
does
going
really go
through it.
through it.
She be going through
But
it. But yeah, I think I would have to go with Margot Kidder too. I think she's really good at just whenever she is, like I said, it was my favorite line. We better talk. I love you. I believe that. I believe you love him. Like the way you sound, the way you look, I'm there. I think it's fantastic. But since it, I might just flip it on its head. Last time I went Superman, Christopher Reeve's performance, Margot Kidder as Lois Lane for character. I might just have to go Christopher Reeve as Superman for the character, because I do really love him in this movie again. And there's not another character in this movie that's worth it. Like I don't like any of the big three as much as I like Superman or Lois Lane. I just don't. It's not
and there's
something that's happening for me.
really no other character that's
Worth it. Yeah.
up. It's either Lois or Clark.
Yes.
Or either Lois or Superman. And character-wise, I feel it's Superman. Yeah. I have to. I'm just so in the mindset of like I don't want it to be the main characters, but like in this case,
this one, I don't think we have a choice. Like even the first one had more options. Like I would have even been comfortable going with like Jor-El in the first one. Fucking Marlon Brando as Jor-El.
Yeah.
Like we just don't get I don't think we get another. We don't get any powerhouse performances, really. Like I said, I don't think Christopher Reeve or Margot Kidder really delivered on a level that was like, whoa. They were just like, they're better than everyone else in this movie, and it's just kind of how it is. But yeah, I tend to agree with the conclusions we've come to there.
There we go. All right. Well, is it time for the rating? Do you have anything?
I think it might be. It might be. So let me break it down for the folks listening. We got 4 ratings out of 10 that we take the average of, and it becomes our overall rating for the film. Our first is enjoyment, just how much this film is resonating with us on a personal level. It is completely subjective. However you're feeling is how you're feeling. You go ahead and put that to paper, and that's just that. We got the genre rating, and this will be, I think this is the first one I'd be willing to go in the same vein as like as Batman, the superhero action comedy. I think that's fair. And then that's out of 10. And then we've got adaptation. That's just how well it was adapted from the comic books we read or any other comic books we might be familiar with prior to this movie. And this one will be interesting. It'll be interesting to do that one. And that's out of 10. We wanted to get that separate from our critical rating so that you knew we can admire something for how well it is done without it relying on how good of an adaptation it was. And that brings me to our last rating, the critical rating. That's all things considered. Acting, writing, filmmaking, soundtrack, score type shit. All the critical shit. It's a completely objective to kind of flip the enjoyment on its head. And that's just kind of that. So, are you ready to throw a rating at it?
Oh, I'm ready. I
All
am
right,
ready.
I say we do it. How you feeling about this? I don't think it'll rank anywhere near as well as the first one. I think it'll still do good, but I don't think it'll do quite as well at all.
Enjoyment? I mean, it is kind of another longer movie that I don't really notice is that long. So like I'll give it that. Like it did keep me interested the whole time, and like I don't really think there was any part of the movie where it felt super slow or anything like that. And we got, some cool just scenes. I don't think it's definitely, I enjoyed it more than Batman 66. I don't think it's as low as a 5. But it's not a 9.5 as the last one. I think I'm somewhere in like the 7-ish.
Yeah, I was thinking 7. I think that was kind of where I was coming down at, a 6.5, 7 was kind of where I was at. it's an enjoyable movie. You know, it's a really fun one to watch. But it's there are elements of it that didn't live up to what the last one was. I don't think I'm not a huge fan of the ending. I do wish that things could have worked out a little bit better on the Lois and Clark side of things. You know, it sucks that they're not together at the end of this movie. It's kind of a pain in the ass. But other than that, I'm left. I enjoy watching this movie. You know, like I said, when it comes to Superman movies, I go to Superman 1 and I go to Superman 2. And when it comes to this movie, there are very few Superman scenes I enjoy more than the Niagara Falls sequence. That whole part of this movie is gold. It's Superman gold there. So I love that part of this movie. But how you feeling coming down at a 7?
Yeah, I was thinking about like maybe if it was lower than a 7, like if 6.5, 6.75 was more fair. Then I'm like 5 is midway. Is it just a point above midway? Like really, I don't know. I think it did well. Like it did well enough. I think it earns a 7.
Okay, cool.
Around there. I'd say I could go down to a 6.75 if
I'm feeling good about a 7. Like I'm thinking about 3 and 4 and stuff from memory, and if memory suits me well, I think we will be going a little bit lower than a 7. But yeah, so with that we'll go on to genre, and I'd kind of throw this in a similar vein as Batman, actually. More closer to Batman than I would the first Superman.
Yeah.
I think that,
the comedy was definitely more present here.
Yeah, tonally it feels like it's just a little bit less self-serious, which isn't a bad thing, you know. It's just something they did, and I have no beef with that. I think
IMDb says it's action, adventure, sci-fi. They don't
it
put
always,
comedy in there, but I mean,
it's more present in this movie fair than the first one. Action, adventure, sci-fi, comedy is kind of how we'll consider it then. And I wouldn't. I still wouldn't give it like a huge dip. I think I would go probably again around a 7.
Yeah.
I don't think it's bad or anything. I think it's good in its genre, but I think there are better examples of what it's done here.
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page there. I don't like it was funny, but not anything that got me rolling on the floor.
Right.
The action was cool, but not anything where I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe I just saw that. Where in the first one, I was kind of like, how did they do? Like, some of the shots blew my mind for how old the movie was and
yeah,
how
like
they got
in
some of the shots.
in this movie, I guess I think the coolest action sequence in this movie is genuinely the first one. It is the Paris stuff. It is the Eiffel Tower stuff. Other than that, it falls a little flat. You know, it's not as compelling in the action adventure side of things. The sci-fi is a bit more prevalent with the 3 alien antagonists sort of thing. But nevertheless, I don't think it quite does what Superman did in Superman 1. Adaptation wise, I think we're taking a dip from that 10.
Yeah, a little bit. They kept the character like of Superman pretty well, like his quirks and all of his little things. But
yeah, I have no beef with the way they adapted the character itself. Superman feels exactly like he did in the first one. Feels exactly like he does in the comics. Lois Lane does as well. Mm-hmm. It's more on the superpower side of things. I feel like they strayed quite a bit. And Zod is a little bit more of an amalgamation of characters in this movie than he is in the comic books, the way Zod is. Ursa is an original movie character, no comic books there, but it seems like she's based off the woman from the Action Comics 471 through 473. And the same thing goes for Non. But
I guess how much of a dip does that cause?
Huge.
Yeah, they kept the character, which I think it's the most important thing to keep true of the adaptation is the character.
I agree.
But it was, the ending was definitely, I've been saying this whole time that like I don't care about certain weird things that don't make sense just for for movie's sake, just to have it be funny or have it be cool or whatever. Like I'm all for that. But the ending, they did kind of just seem like they were grasping for straws and like giving them
Yeah,
random
whenever we
powers
become when
and
we become objective, remove ourselves from what we enjoy watching. Yeah, I can see how you can critique all of these things. What I can't see is how you might not like it. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
it's relentlessly fun. So like the enjoyment, adaptation, and critical rating are very different things. So I think it's fair to go a little bit harsher when you get to this sort of part. I still, I think again, I'm right around a 7,
That's what I was
7 or
gonna
8.
say. Is this
Yeah,
just another 7?
I
I'd
think it
say
might be.
in the other two, I think it was like 7 was kind of the ceiling. I don't think we can go higher than that. But I think like this one, 7's the floor. I wouldn't
Okay.
really go any lower than 7, but like I could go 7, 7.5 is kind of where I was thinking.
I could go up to a 7.5 if that's what you're feeling. Cuz I would say I think it was still a better adaptation than Batman 66 was of Batman and the
Yeah.
characters we got to know at that point. Or I don't know. Was it? When we look at that one, the villains are pretty well adapted. That's kind of the thing.
True.
Um the villains are pretty well adapted in Batman, and we gave that a 7 out of 10. So like I do think they maintain the spirit of Superman and Lois thoroughly, but maybe that means this is just a 7. Like I don't think I can comfortably go,
It's
it's
better.
a better adaptation.
Yeah.
It's
I
just
I agree now. Yeah, that puts it in a good light, or frames it a lot better instead
yeah.
of just no, I think the character is the most important part to keep true, but the parts that they did lack on were kind of
They were lacking. Yeah, it's
yeah.
there's nothing too shameful about it. It's still 7 out of 10. Not like it's like, oh God, you're a terrible movie. Nah, you're doing good. You're doing good. But that brings us to our critical rating, which is it's going to be interesting because I would say it's not as good as the first in any respect.
The
Like
first
I don't.
one, I came out being so much more satisfied.
Yeah.
Like and like I feel like the deaths of them three, if they are dead, I don't know.
Yeah,
Like
like the way
how
they just
far they
fell through the.
fell in there,
Yeah.
like where that goes. But I feel like it could have been something different or handled a little differently. I don't know, or maybe he trapped him back in the Phantom Zone. It was not just pushing
Well, and
him
now
down.
the undoing of the Lois stuff. Like it just felt like
Mm,
what do we even do all this for?
yeah,
You're telling me he gave up his powers, caused like a bunch of shit went rampant, and now that just means nothing because they're not even going to be together at the end of the movie. Like,
and I mean, even though it is the '80s, the effects were better in the first one, and maybe they did have more, and the load was higher, but like I think it is still fair to critique them on that. Maybe they were a little too far in over their heads
yeah,
with this one, and I mean I think it's kind of like middle of the road here.
yeah. I was gonna say if we declare 5 like our average movie, like you're right down the middle. You're not good. You're not bad. You just are. I think it's a little bit on the brighter side of that. Like
Yeah.
I would go probably 5.5, 6 on this one.
Let's see, we give it a 5.5. The 6.63, a 5 or a 6 makes it a 6.75 overall. I mean,
All right.
I don't think it is strictly middle of the road. I do think it deserves a little bit of a bump, that's for sure.
All right, then
Um,
I say we go 6. Then I think
I-
I think it's a fair place to come down. It's still it's better than middle of the road, not by a lot, but it is.
oh, would you look at that? IMDb gives this movie a 6.8 and 6.75. We've rounded every other one to the nearest second decimal place
Yes, yes.
for
So
percent. And there we go. So we line up there. Um, let's see what Rotten Tomatoes has to say about this movie. An 83.
wow,
Critically 83. Audience 76.
we're a bit harsher on Superman 2. That's interesting.
Very.
Um, I just can't get past the ending. The ending's like the rest of the movie is super enjoyable and really and frankly pretty well done. Like the ending, I just can't get over how it was like, oh, this kind of unraveled very quickly.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I mean I haven't seen the third, so I'm assuming they're just setting up for the third, and they just needed because at the end of this movie it says like Superman will return and Superman or like Superman 3, like it
Yeah,
shows it at the end. So like it was
they were
very
ready for
planned.
that. Yeah,
So I guess if they needed some stuff to set up for the next movie, they do the same things in comics. So I can't really be too mad at them for it, but like I feel like that's part of the story that's pretty big, like pretty like he could like that should be a major focal point
exactly.
of this story. But I
But
mean,
yeah, so that would bring us to a 6.75. So like a 6.8 is kind of what we've done for the other ones. Batman 66 coming to a 53% on the tomato meter. Superman coming to a 94% on the tomato meter, and Superman 2 coming to a 68% on the tomato meter, which it's a pretty big drop off from Superman to Superman 2.
the first one was that much better though. Like
It's one of the greatest superhero movies of all time.
yeah, like I really love the first one. This one, I love it because it comes after the first one.
Yeah, like I will watch it again. I've watched it multiple times this year, like this was not the first time I've watched it in 2022, which is like typically a pretty good reference point for if I enjoy a movie. And I know it's like 3 weeks into 2023 for everyone else, but time bending.
But yeah, no, that's about right. I don't think we're being too harsh, like at a 68. I mean, it's almost a 7 out of 10. So I mean,
yeah, and that's the spirit of the 10-point scale. We wanted to be a little bit more bare bones, honest, critical about things. I'm much more comfortable giving this a 6.75 than I would be a 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, I think we got it down.
If we would have been on the 5-point scale and I gave this a 3.3 or whatever the fuck, I'd have been like, well, I don't know. I think I'd want it to be more like 3.75, 4.
Yeah, 10 point. It really helps. I don't know. We have a lot more space in between now,
Yeah.
and it's not a
You can find the
5.4 or
middle.
a 5.7 or a 5, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I like the way this is going and shaking it so far.
Papa likey. Yeah, I enjoy this thus far, and yeah, so another great addition. Superman 2 comes to a 6.75 out of 10 for us here at the Penny Bloom Podcast. 6.8 out of 10, if you will, 68% on the tomato meter. So another good addition to our 52 comic book movie journey through film. It will be a while before I stop doing that. Like we did that. I said that for like a year straight. So.
Yeah. It's going to be hard to break that habit. Yeah. It's going to be tough. But, I mean, we'll get there. We got a while.
Yeah, we'll get there.
This one. Yeah.
We'll get there. I mean, we got a couple of years going for this one. So, and we're already almost a month deep. We're already almost there. Next week, Superman 3 marks the end of January for us, which is wild. Already a month into another project. Already a month in. That's fucking great. But yeah, the next week, Superman 3 will conclude January for us. We'll have some more comics that we'll get to talk about there for you. Same formatted movie review and everything. Very excited. Supergirl, Howard the Duck, Superman 4 coming up. And hell yeah. I think that'll kind of that'll be good. That'll be good. It'll be grand. But yeah. With that, I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And if you would, head to patreon.com/pennybloom.pod, where you'll find over 50 hours of exclusive content, including book reviews galore, a bunch of comic book pull lists. Every week I'm putting up a pull list for comic books of all the new shit that's out. So go ahead and check that shit out. For $3 a month, it'll help us out immensely. Head to Twitter, follow at PennyBloomPod, follow on Instagram at PennyBloomPodcast. Again, I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. And remember, peace, love, and bloom. And I don't want a bodyguard. I want the man I fell in love with.